Ozempic success stories are all over social media, but these highlight reels don't give us all the facts. So I'm gonna give you a sneak peek behind the highlight reel through my friend's weight loss journey with expert commentary in real time. Honestly, I didn't even expect some of this. Hey everyone, I'm Abbey Sharp. Welcome to Abby's Kitchen. A quick disclaimer that this video may include numbers, calories, and extreme weight loss discussion, so please feel free to skip this video if it's not supportive to your journey. Also note that the individual in this series is not my client, so any suggestions that I make are for general knowledge only, not directed specifically at her. Everyone's needs are unique and ultimately should be discussed one-on-one with your healthcare provider. Okay, so assuming you've opened a social media app or left your house in the past year, you've probably heard about Ozempic. There are ads for it at the Medi Spa, at the movies, on TikTok, everywhere. And for once, it's maybe not just hype. I've been following the research and I gave my somewhat shocking take in my videos here and here. And despite what you may expect to hear from an anti-diet dietitian, honestly, I think it's gonna be a powerful tool, for better or worse. I do worry that it will be used and abused and serve to reinforce some pretty damaging body standards, but I also think it's gonna save and change a lot of lives. And at the end of the day, I believe in body autonomy. So when my close friend, talent agent, and my business partner told me that she was starting the drug, I didn't try to talk her out of it. I didn't shame her for succumbing to diet culture. I simply asked her if there was anything I could do to help. So if you're considering taking Ozempic or starting your own GLP-1 agonist journey, this mini-series will give you the unfiltered, unscripted, messy truth. Yeah, we're gonna be going there with the good, the bad, and the diarrhea. Lots of it. Hello, Ginger. I'm so happy you're joining. Ginger and I have known each other for so long. How long?
Oh gosh, 12, maybe almost 15 years.
Yeah, I mean, back in my early blogging days, Ginger hired me to host an event for Jamie Oliver. And that was so fun. And now we are business partners in a very exciting venture. She signed me on a while ago as part of her agency roster. So yeah, we go way back.
Way back, which has been great. I mean, we're friends, we're colleagues, we've done so much together, and now we're doing this together. So talk about vulnerability and
yes,
switching the table.
And thank you for being so vulnerable. This is such an important story to share and journey to share. And I know that that's not necessarily very easy. So thank you for being here. So why don't we start off? Why don't you tell me a little bit about your weight and diet history? Where did this all start for you?
Yeah, sure. So I've been overweight my whole life. And I think it's funny because my parents are divorced, and I'm not sure if the way they've treated me with food has been so different. I don't know if that's why I'm so, in between and how I think about food. I don't know. But, growing up, my mom, her family didn't have a lot of money, so they were always taught to eat everything and never leave anything left on the plate. And, you never know when you're going to get your next meal sort of thing. So that she kind of brought into my life. I would have to fall asleep at the table if I didn't eat the meal. Yeah, it's like
the physical scarcity mentality carries on to mental scarcity mentality.
Exactly. And I obviously, when you're a kid, you don't recognize that's what they're doing, and it's coming from them, And then my parents were divorced, so they got divorced when I was 2. So my dad's family, I mean, when we got to see my dad, which was every other week, that was the custody arrangement back then, almost for every family. We were rewarded with food. So in one situation, it was, you're not allowed to leave the table until you've eaten all of this nutritious food, even if it was beefaroni. If that's what we were eating that week, I had to eat it. My mom got, payback a couple times when I vomited it up. But, and then my dad's side, it was I got the donuts, I got all the fun stuff. And so a real complex mix of how I approached food from that kind of very young age.
Yeah, food just could never just be food. It had to be tied with all of this other emotional, moral weight.
You got it. You got it. And obviously you don't know, and they don't know.
No.
Like my parents were so young. They didn't know any better, So I get it. I get it. But here I am, and both sides of the family suffer from diabetes and heart issues and whatnot. So no matter what, I was going to struggle with something, and so here I am. I've struggled my whole life. My mom took me to Weight Watchers when I was 10. And you think, oh, okay, I'm going to this thing, I'm going to meet people, and I'm so extroverted, meeting people is cool, but I'm weighing myself. At 10, it was, I don't think I knew then what I know now, and I would never ever do that to my kids.
Of course. And generational diet culture, it's so hard to break that cycle. And of course your mom was probably just doing what she was taught was best from her mom and by society at large. And so, we can't shame our parents for making these choices when they really were doing it in our best interest, or what they believed was in our best interest. But now, of course, when we know better, we can do better. And we know that kids put on diets are more likely to grow up to be overweight adults and to suffer from low self-esteem, body dissatisfaction, disordered eating, etc. So we do things very differently now, but it sounds like you grew up with a lot of mixed messages about food in your body.
You got it. And it was never really the focus was never food. That was kind of just what happened. We weren't talking about food. I never really knew how to eat or eat nutritiously or eat, we had the food guide back then. We never really looked at that. There were just polarizing ideas of, the mentality of we're going to treat ourselves with sugar and the mentality of you have to eat everything on this plate.
Right. Now,
so
that's what we're told, right? And it's very common. The Clean Plate Club really teaches children to dissociate themselves with their innate hunger and fullness cues at a very, very young age, when kids are born intuitive eaters, and yet we are teaching them very clearly how to cut ties with that. So that all makes sense to me. And so you mentioned, you've struggled with your weight for most of your adult life since going to Weight Watchers at 10. Can you tell me about, other than Weight Watchers, I guess, what have you tried? Has anything worked? What diets have you been put on or, put yourself on?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I've done them all. No. So I'm very healthy. So all my blood work is always clean, but I've just been a healthy fat girl, and I move, I do a lot of physical activity, and I just can't lose the weight for a number of reasons, diagnosed with PCOS, and gosh, anybody who has to go through that, I feel you so hard. It's a struggle, and I know what it's like. So, but how I got here, when I started this journey kind of on my own, my mom was always very thin. So it was natural to her to be thin, and even though her family wasn't, she was. So growing up, and my mom also has a binge eating issue. I shouldn't say binge eating, but if it's there, she's going to eat it. Similar to me, if it's there, I'm going to eat it. So growing up, we never really had the sweets or anything in the cupboard because she would eat it. So when I would be out of the house, I would binge on all the things that I couldn't get in the house. So if I got chore money, or if I got $5 or $10, I was going to the candy machine, and so as a result, I became addicted to sugar. So I definitely, and I'm still addicted. So trying to cut that out is really hard. But, I've run the gamut from, I think, in high school, I was dancing, so I was moving all the time, but I was never super thin. And then finally, I just became anorexic. I just stopped eating. A Diet Coke was my lunch. And some days after dinner, because I'd be eating with my family, I would throw it up. But that was not a regular thing, so I wouldn't say I went through a bulimic phase. I don't think that's fair to say. I think that, but I did go through a phase. But no, I just kind of stopped eating, and hearing everybody saying, "Oh my God, you're looking so good, you're looking so good." Well, you just keep doing it, right? So, but I'm that person who, if I have a goal in mind, I'm going to reach that goal. But as soon as I reach it, I give up. So it's like, and that's the problem with yo-yo dieting, right? Like you reach it, and then, oh my God, it's not sustainable. I'm done. I can't do it anymore. And then you go back.
You go back, and often the weight is not only going to go back to where it was, but you may even gain even more. So, wow, what a story, Ginger. That was a lot to share. And I'm sure so many people who are listening are thinking, that is my story to a T. The mom who is skinny and always restricting. And of course, if you're being restricted in the household, you are going to binge. You're putting all these foods on a pedestal. So as a child, there's no way for you not to be enticed to try to get the forbidden fruit. And so none of what you've told me surprises me, even though it's completely heartbreaking and just terrible. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. That's a lot. So, all right, you're here.
You're telling me.
No, I know. And tell me, you're how old now?
38, turning 39 next week.
Okay, so you're at the point, you're 39, you're almost 40. Why Ozempic? Why now? How did this kind of come to be as your next step?
So actually, it all started, my interest in Ozempic started with, I was going through the egg freezing process. So I split from my partner, and then I was like, oh, okay, well, I'm 37. What am I doing here? So I just went through the process because I needed to. And then in that process, my doctor talked to me about metformin as a tool to help with reproduction. And so from that conversation, we started talking about Ozempic, and I was curious about it. I had seen the ads, great marketing,
obviously, everywhere.
So, and that's kind of how we started talking about it. But my doctor was really good, and if I back up just a little bit here, my dad is on Ozempic. So my dad has type 2 diabetes. So, later in life, he became a diabetic. He's had a stroke, he's got 6 siblings. Several of them have had heart attacks or triple bypasses. Several of them have diabetes. So it runs in the family. So, he was also a healthy fat boy his whole life, and then got diabetes later in age. And his doctor put him on Ozempic, and he dropped weight like this. I had no idea he was on Ozempic until New Year's this year, when I was talking about, my doctor had talked about metformin. Dad, what do you think? He's like, well, I'm on Ozempic and metformin. I was like, you're on Ozempic? What? And then my aunt's like, I'm on Ozempic too. And I'm like, what?
Yeah, it's feel like when the floodgates open, everyone kind of starts talking.
Yeah. And they had both lost so much weight, but I had no idea. I never really thought to ask. I don't see them all the time. My dad doesn't live in the same city. And so that's when I started to take it serious. I'm like, okay, I think I have to look at this more seriously. And my dad's doctor actually told him that it was a miracle drug. She's never actually seen results with any drug the way she's seen Ozempic change people's lives.
It's true.
For so many reasons, not just diabetic treatment, not just blood sugar control, but for so many things. And when we talk about obesity as being an epidemic, especially in the States, North America and Canada, think about the healthcare dollars we could save if we could treat obesity earlier on. Anyways, that turned into a whole thing.
Totally.
Talked to my doctor, and my doctor was really good. My doctor was like, we're going to do the blood work. We're going to have a consult with internal medicine, because I was also going through some gallbladder issues, and we're going to have a consult with the weight loss clinic. So I did all those things. And the weight loss clinic was the one who actually confirmed, yes, this is what you should be on, given your history, given your family history. If you go on now, you will likely be in a preventative situation where you will not get diabetes and you will not have heart issues.
Right. So to summarize, you have family history of heart disease and diabetes and are overweight. And so your doctor's suggesting this would be a really good tool to prevent you from following in your genetically determined potential path.
You got it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
Conclusion, exclamation mark. That's exactly it.
Right.
Yeah.
And you've told me in the past that one of the challenges that you've always had is just never feeling full. We talk on this channel all the time about, paying attention and honing in on your hunger and fullness cues. But I acknowledge all the time that that's just not possible for a lot of people. And it sounds like that may be the case for you. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, you got it. I never feel full. That's one of the things in my personal research, in what the doctors have told me, is that Ozempic will help connect the dots from brain to stomach. I'm not there yet, if I'm being totally honest. So I still am hungry. But yes, I never really feel full. I never feel satiated. I just don't have that indicator, that key, that brain connection that tells me you're full. You don't need to put anything else in here. And
I can imagine, given everything that you've gone through in your kind of diet and body history, and then also compounded by the fact that physically and physiologically, you aren't getting those cues. That makes it virtually impossible for you to have a normal relationship with food and your body, because you're not getting the feedback from your body. And so it is very hard to trust your body. And that's very commonly why people get into these cycles of overeating, binge eating, anorexia, other eating disorders, and it's very hard to get out. And so
and sorry to interrupt, but I feel like that when I hear that people have those cues, I'm like, tell me more.
Right.
I've never experienced it before, so I don't really understand, and that doesn't necessarily compute for me.
Right. And this is going to be a bit of a hot take, but I think, and this is not my area of expertise, but I believe that it is very likely that a drug like Ozempic or other GLP-1 agonists will be used in the treatment of eating disorders that are particularly around lack of hunger, fullness cues, binge eating disorder, overeating, things like that, because even potentially in the absence of obesity, because I know and I can imagine how debilitating it feels to just not be wired that way. It's impossible for you to eat intuitively or normally without that cue. And so I think that that's going to be a huge next area of practice when it comes to these GLP-1 agonists, huge area of opportunity, because there's a lot of people just based on the people the fans and the followers and the comments I get who are in the same boat. They do not feel fullness. They don't, or hunger. And I will say, Abby, if there's one tool that's actually helped me with satiation. Is that a word? No, with satiety. Yeah.
Thank you. It's the hunger crushing combo.
Love it.
I have to say, if I eat enough of the mix, the combo, the fat, the protein, and the fiber, I will feel full. And if I feel full, I'm like, oh, was this a hunger crushing combo? And I don't even realize that I'm doing it.
It works.
Yeah, it does. It does. And I have to say that is one of the things that has totally changed my life. Now, if we're being totally honest, you can't always get a hunger crushing combo in every meal you're having, especially if you're on the go. And we're working towards things to help that. You and I, sidebar, we're trying, and because I know it's working for me. We know that, but when you do get it in, I really do find it helps. Now, do I still have that cue? No, but when I do feel full, it's usually and it's usually because I've eaten a fully
a nice full satiating meal with all those compounds. Yes, it is such a powerful tool. I will never say it's going to replace a powerful anti-obesity agent like GLP-1 agonists or like Ozempic, but it is a great place to start, and I'm glad that you're having success with it. All right, Ginger, I'm gonna let you get into that first shot. How are you with needles?
Okay, I was terrified of needles, but now that I've gone through 2 rounds of egg freezing, give myself 3 or 4 needles a day, I think I'm ready for this one. I did take a little peek and it's pretty small. Yeah, so I'm ready. I think it's going to be totally fine.
Yeah, as IVFers know, some of those needles are honkers. We can do anything now. They want to take my blood. I'm like, take it, honey. Like, I'll be here all day and just fine.
I mean, listen, if somebody's going to take my blood, I'm still not looking at the needle going.
Yeah, I don't want to see.
But
it's okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thoughts and prayers to your toilet bowl. Lots of good luck, and I will check in with you in a couple weeks. Bye.
Thanks, Abby. Bye.
Okay, it's day 1 of Ozempic. It's Tuesday, May 9th. I've had a roller coaster of a couple of weeks, couple of months, just between egg freezing and gallbladder surgery, and then my dog getting attacked, throwing my back out. I've gained about 25, 30 pounds since last August, and it's time to get it off. And I want to move. I want to do all the things. So I'm starting Ozempic today. Yeah, I'm starting Ozempic today. I'm going to take all of my measurements. I'm going to have my starting weight so that Abby can review everything. And here we go. Okay. So this is the pen. Oh yeah, here's my scars from the gallbladder surgery. So we're going to go here. Always got to psych yourself up for this. Very small needle. Can't feel a thing.
So I know Ginger really well, and she has been through hell and back this year. And as someone who's gone through IVF, I can attest that all those hormones they get pumped full of in the egg freezing process can and do cause weight gain. And that's all on top of her running a super successful, very busy business. Life stressors affect our risk of weight gain through affecting our sleep, or increasing cortisol, or increasing emotional eating, or all of the above. So I hope that Ginger can offer herself some compassion because, yeah, this year has not been kind.
Okay, so I'm doing a little check-in. This is the evening of my second dose. So week 2, second dose, I'm at 0.25 milligrams. I actually have to say that my appetite was small today and I didn't have much. I had half of a tuna poke bowl. I had a cookie. I had a Diet Coke. Lots of water. And then before my tennis lesson this evening, I had a small bowl of rice, probably about 3/4 of a cup, and a little piece of salmon. And as I was playing tennis, and this might be TMI, so you might have to like bleep, bleep, bleep this out. But as I was playing tennis, I had to leave early. I was having some issues. I had my gallbladder removed about 4 weeks ago. And I don't think I've ever driven home so quickly in my life to run up to the bathroom, and I almost shat my pants.
Oh, Ginger. That's so hard, but also somewhat to be expected. Diarrhea is one of the most common side effects of GLP-1 agonists like Ozempic, especially when you're just starting out or you're upping a dose. The rice is a great binding food. Also things like oatmeal, cream of wheat, toast, bananas, that can all help to slow down the bowels. I'd probably try to avoid the Diet Coke because the caffeine can get things moving. And I'd also keep food pretty mild and low in fat, maybe going easy on any kind of like spicy mayo or sauces on the poke bowl. It does make for a pretty boring diet, but better than in your pants in my opinion. Also, if you are experiencing diarrhea on a drug like Ozempic, make sure that you are upping your water and consider an electrolyte supplement to prevent dehydration. If you're dehydrated, you're gonna feel like
Just thought I'd check in. It's day 2 after my second Ozempic injection, and I have had 2 coffees so far because I've been up since 4:30. I haven't been able to sleep, and it is 11 a.m. And I have had diarrhea 4 times already today. It doesn't feel very good.
oh God, Ginge. I know it is super hard not to double down on the caffeine when you are exhausted, but definitely not gonna help the bowels.
Okay, it is shot number 4 today, and that makes it day 22. It's May 30th. So here's what I will say about week 3. I did not have the same symptoms as I had week 2. So week 2, I had insane diarrhea. Last week, I was a bit tired, but other than that, I didn't really feel anything physically, which I think is a good sign. But I was also, so I had gallbladder surgery 3 weeks before I started Ozempic. So it was very hard. I wasn't allowed to do physical activity for, 4 weeks. I was allowed to gradually resume at the 4-week mark. So I've gradually resumed. And last week I started, going heavy. I played tennis 2 or 3 times. I did Pilates. So I feel like I'm bouncing back physically, but I have been so hungry. So this has really not curbed my appetite at this dose. Week 3. Week 2, I was kind of afraid to eat almost because I was having so much diarrhea. Case in point on the hunger piece, I'm actually up 0.8 of a pound this week compared to last week. So there's that. So here we go.
Okay, so this all makes sense to me. 0.25 milligrams is still a very low starter dose, so I really wouldn't expect any dramatic results yet. And the 0.8 pounds weight gain could also be totally normal fluctuations in body weight, so really not a big deal. Now, the increase in hunger is interesting, but it's probably the body fighting to make up for the deficit from the week before, because as Ginger said, she was kind of like afraid to eat because of the diarrhea, and she probably dropped a little bit of water weight as well. And I mean, if you've ever been super sick and like throwing up and having diarrhea and you haven't felt like eating much for a few days, when you do feel better, you are like ravenous trying to make up for it. So it actually sounds like we're kind of on the up. So far, we are a month in at 0.25 milligram starter dose. No weight loss yet, no major impact on appetite, some significant side effects, especially GI side effects, but they do seem to be leveling out at this point, though I would expect that she might have another rough week or so when she decides to increase the dose. Next, Ginger will be doing 4 weeks at 0.5 milligrams, then 4 weeks at 1 milligram, and then she's either going to stay there or move up to 2 milligrams, depending on symptoms, outcomes, response, etc. So there's still a very long road ahead and anything can happen here. So if you're curious what an Ozempic journey looks like from start to maintenance, follow along and we'll check in with Ginger in another month. And on that note, if you like this video, please give it the thumbs up, subscribe, hit up my bio. Don't forget to download my free Hunger Crushing Combo ebook. As Ginger said, it has been revolutionary for helping her manage her appetite. And I will see you next time on Abby's Kitchen. Bye.